Now you welcome along to what is the Clare Champion Sports Chat podcast extra this week, where we're looking ahead to the 2019 Clare Senior Hurling Final. We started talking about this last August. We're now into the first or second week in October, and here we are down to the final two. Sixmilebridge versus Cratloe, that big derby battle. We've been doing our research on the Ordnance survey maps during the week, lads, and it turns out that the Cratloe parish finishes where? Inside in the square below in Sixmilebridge village. I mean, you couldn't have written this script. They've never met in the County Senior Hurling Final. They've plenty previous meetings, of course, in earlier rounds and a quarter final not that long ago as well. But now the cannon on the line. So much to go through on that. And you can see here joining in studio Fergie O'Loughlin after the fan mail box has just exploded to get Owen Maloney back, and there he is. And the fan mail box has exploded to get your man out, but he's still here anyway. Editor Peter O'Connell joining us to have a chat. Lads, down to the final two. It's what we've been counting down to, Fergie, and I suppose there's a big wry grin on your face as we saw in last week's show, because Cratloe are one of the two standing, ready to hopefully, from your perspective, go one better than last year. We mentioned it last week, the best two, the most formed, the most consistent in the final?
Yeah, I think so. And there's been a few grey areas for both teams, I suppose, during games that they haven't performed to their best of their ability. But overall, when you go through the games and you go through the championship to date, you know, they are probably the two best teams left standing. And it's going to be intriguing. You know, again, I was just going through it there today, and the matchups and the way it's going to be played, the rivalry, they know each other very, very well. Manager stuff, you have Mike Deegan, who's an absolutely brilliant heading him on the line, and then you have Davey and his backroom team that will try dismantle Cratloe and get them out of the system that they're used to playing, and it serves them very, very well. So it's going to be an enthralling battle. I'm really looking forward to it. It has all the ingredients to be a brilliant final, which we need at this stage. The championship hasn't been great. We've seen little glimpses of games that would excite you, but overall it has been a poor championship. And let's hope the weather stays reasonably good for the final, because you have two hurling teams now. You have, if you go through both teams from goalkeeper to the full forward line on both sides, you have fantastic athletes. You have, a high percentage of them on both teams have played at some level inter-county. So I'd be expecting a high intense, but I'm really looking forward to the tactical stuff that's going to go on. And maybe we might get into a little bit of depth as we go on and see what our views are on that, but it's going to be a great final.
And of course, one obvious thing, Peter, is that a lot of it may be framed by what happened last Sunday. I mean, Cratloe were on for the double, maybe seemed to hit a little bit of a flat spot at times against Kilmurray, didn't bring the same intensity that we've seen at times. And has that been their issue, in terms of the last couple of years, that you look through their schedule, there tends to be 2-3 weeks where they're really on, really hot, like that second half against Crusheen, and then it's kind of followed by a little bit of a flat spot. We referenced that Aina Kilnamona game, Fergie, for example, where they had a couple of good weeks beforehand. Like, is that a concern for Cratloe, or are they now past masters at parking one weekend as they look to the next?
I think it's a big talking point for all of us. Probably not a concern for Cratloe, to be honest, because they're not going to kind of dwell on that. They're going to focus in completely on this game. If Cratloe weren't a dual team and were either exclusively a hurling club or a football club, and if they produced the odds inconsistent performance, we probably wouldn't analyse it as much as we do, because they're a dual team. We probably analyse and look more closely at either the Cratloe footballers or the Cratloe hurlers not playing particularly brilliantly on a given day. We probably look at that in more depth than we might at a standalone hurling club or a standalone football club, because I suppose the narrative is that they're getting tired, or they're getting they're mentally worn out or whatever. They're playing at such a high level, and they're playing teams that are completely focused on the one sport, that they're meeting teams that absolutely razor sharp knockout stages of either championship hurling or football. So I suppose we're judging Cratloe on a very, very very high level. So I think in terms of will the game against Kilmurray, the football game against Kilmurray at the weekend, have an impact on next weekend? I don't think it will. I think this Cratloe team and panel and management are so experienced. They've been through so much with their own club at all levels of intercounty that they will have, I'd say they've forgotten. I mean, they'll reflect on maybe in a couple of weeks' time. Maybe when the county football final is on, I'd say they'll be disappointed that weekend that they're not in the county football final. But I would say, as of today, they've forgotten about the getting beaten by Kilmurray in the semi-final, and that's no disrespect whatsoever to Kilmurray or the sport of football, but they'll be completely focused on that, Fergie. I think.
But you're right. You know, if you speak to some of them and they say, you know, we can park it, you know, after the football game is over and that. But if you look at the facts of it and you look at how hard it is to do both codes and play at a high level like they do, it does impact. Like you can't, and we've seen glimpses of it working for them, but we've seen an awful lot. Last year, you take, for example, the game against Milltown in the park in the football. I never saw a team so tired in my life. Milltown absolutely opened them and ran them into the ground. And then we saw the real flatness in the county hurling final with 15 minutes to go, where Ballier just shot the lights out with them. There was no energy left. There were, I think, 5-6 points up, missed maybe 5 or 6 very scoreable chances, and then out of pure tiredness allowed Ballier to dictate, made silly mistakes, thinking the goalkeeper pucking the ball out into Martin O'Leary that time he got a goal. And that, to me, I putting that down to real tiredness. You know, the week in, week out football and hurling. So it does impact, where they won't want to be listening to this again and saying, look, they're talking about it again, it doesn't affect us, but it does. The facts will show that it's very difficult to do. And there's great admiration for them because they do reach the business ends in the football and the hurling finals most years.
And we nearly take that for granted, don't we? Like, I mean,
we do.
It sounds funny that we're sitting here talking about, you know, has it been a successful year because they haven't got the boat? Like, they've been doing it so consistently. I mean, I was looking up I think there's only 1 year this decade where Cratloe haven't been in either a football or a hurling final. And I mean, it's just so commonplace now, I guess, for them that maybe we're not giving it the full credit that it deserves.
Yeah, and as I said, I have awful admiration for them that they can do it. But it does, you know, if I'm Alan Neville and Mike Deegan this week sitting down, you know, I know it was a football week, and you know, they've missed a full week of really good training they can do, because this week is about recovery. Really, to me, it's about keeping it fresh and keeping it nice and simple. And where the Bridge, I'm sure we're going at a challenge game or an in-house game between themselves, flat out stuff, able to plan on a lot of the stuff that they might be looking at might erase problems that Cratloe bring to the gig, and Cratloe missed out on that, you know. So advantage to the Bridge on that front, I would think.
But could we say with any certainty, Fergie, that just say Cratloe weren't a senior football team and haven't just played a county senior football semi-final, would they definitely beat? Would we be saying here with absolute certainty Cratloe are going to beat the Bridge?
I did my house on it, that without a shadow of a doubt, that you go through their players, you go through the talent in the squad of hurlers they have. You know, there's no doubt it would take a very, very good team to unearth them. I think they're a fantastic hurling team, and we've seen bits of it in games where they do go flat, they do lose their shape a little bit. That high intensity running game that they play off the shoulder takes so much energy, but it's the key to them winning games. To me, it's the only way that they will turn a team around and roll them over, is when they play that high intensity off the shoulder game and getting it into them zones then. And they're playing, as a matter of fact, in the last 2 years they've brought it to a new level with the Conor McGrath issue. Like, he's the best forward probably in the country, you know, at club level at this stage. But they have him now out around the middle third of the field, playing that high as being the provider now, that running game down through the centre, and then getting into the situations where he can get scores himself. But he's playing the game that they know serves him off and right, and no better player than a Conor McGrath. Head-wise, intelligent, use of the ball, and then getting into the zones where he can get the scores himself if he's not passing it. Now, that takes savage teamwork, savage fitness levels, savage freshness. And that's where I find that they might at times in games be rolled over handy. When that breaks down, they don't divert to a second game or a new game, because that's the way to play. And when they do connect with it and they do get it going, they're impossible to stop, I think.
Just a quick point, just to see what your opinion is. Last year in the semi-final in the hurling, they were the better team by far against Kilmaley, and then just stopped hurling and kind of fell apart and fell over the line. If there was another few minutes, I think Kilmaley would have caught him. And then we saw it again in the final. They were by far the better team, and then eventually kind of just stopped for whatever reason. We won't go into it again. And then Ballet just completely took over. But this year, they gave Kilmaley a 6-point lead and then hurled them off the park. They gave Clonlara a lead and then just came back now. They were 1 narrowly in the end, and then gave Crusheen a lead and then completely blew them apart in the second half. Do you think they've tweaked something, that they're finishing games stronger and that they have that in mind, that they don't want to forfeit a lead again?
Yeah, it's a very valid point. It is an absolutely brilliant point, Owen, because they have. We've seen them listing Crusheen. We've seen them with Kilmaley. Yeah, you're right. But I seen the other side of it against Kilnamona in that round game where it was absolutely awful. They were just completely flat and looked like a team that needed to go to bed rather than play a hurling game. And it was that slow, and it was that, and it was great credit due to Kilnamona that day now. They really went and worked on their game plan, on Cratloe's game plan, pushed up high, didn't allow them set up from deep. Any runners picked them up, and it just went very flat then for Cratloe. But it's a valid point that this year they're finishing games reasonably well, and this is going to be the key. And I said that last week in our podcast, is that the Bridge have been finishing games. Their last 15 minutes have probably been their best periods. Their fitness levels is outrageous.
Yeah.
At the moment, Sixmilebridge, they have a savage amount of work done early doors, and Tim Crowe kind of touched on it, that they tried to time their run with fitness levels and that, and I think they've got it right. So that's going to be enthralling. But I still go back to the fatigue stuff, and I still go back to the preparation, especially when you get to a county final. You want all guns. There's not much you can do when you have a classy football team as well that's contesting a senior football semi-final as well. But if you solely focus in on the hurling, for us as analysing this, you'd have to give a little sway to Sixmilebridge this week because of their preparation values that they've taken over this week, while Cratloe were worrying about a county senior football semi-final.
And you mentioned Tim Crowe there on, and one thing that I think Tim has probably shocked us a little bit with is that he keeps playing down Sixmilebridge's chances. Now maybe it's Marie's media training that's telling him to play the underdog card. Maybe that's coming into play at the moment. But and there's an extensive interview with Tim obviously in this week's paper that you can read through on this. But he said they didn't expect to be in the final at the end of the year. Or he referenced last year as being a bit of a disappointment. He went so far as to say that he went into the role because Paddy Meehan contacted himself and Davy, and they buried old hatchets for the sake of Sixmilebridge, because nobody wanted the job, which to me was an amazing admission that they had to come together in that heat for the club. But like what they've done, they've been unbeaten obviously, but he referenced that they've stumbled into the final. I just thought it was an interesting choice of phrase, that he felt their performances in the last couple of rounds haven't exactly been what they've been looking for, so they're not resting on their laurels either.
No, I can see where he's coming from in respect to the semi-final, considering Oina Kilnamona maybe with more experience of semi-finals might have put them away, but just maybe got finishing line nerves, and then when they needed them most, to be fair, Sixmilebridge had leaders. They scored 3 or 4 massive points in a row, and it took the wind out of Oina Kilnamona's sails really from there. But like when you look at the earlier rounds, they blew teams away. Like I know with respect to Clarecastle, they hammered Clarecastle. Now in fairness, they were still a nice margin up against Éire Óg and won by 3 in the end, but still Éire Óg were flying at that stage, and they beat Ballyea by 10 points last year's county champions. So I wouldn't say that they've stumbled too much now, to be honest. I'd say that's Tim using us as his conduit, but I would have to be honest, I'd agree with you in the sense that if Cratloe had a good run with a 2-week run like Sixmilebridge had, you'd have to favour them. It does make it slightly more interesting coming off of the football loss, but I think where it's going to be one for me is Cratloe's speed and the inside forwards. Like they scored 3-8 against Crusheen from play the inside forward line the last day, and Crusheen's full back line are no fools by any stretch of the imagination. So it's going to be a job for Kerry, Fitzpatrick and Purcell to keep them quiet. But if they do, that could be the win of the game for the Bridge. If they don't, probably the win of it for Cratloe, I'd say. Yeah,
we'll get into all those tactics in just a couple of minutes. We're going to take a very, very quick break here on our Champion Sports Chat podcast 2019 Hurling Final Preview. All that chat to come when we look at who might be playing where. Join us then. Hi, welcome back to the second part of the Champion Sports Chat podcast 2019 Clare Hurling Final Preview. Still got our expert panel here in the studio to look ahead to the game. Thankfully Fergie didn't pick up on that. Fergie, we'll go to you as our expert. We were talking about before the break about potential matchups, potential areas. A common theme out there seems to be that Cratloe will look to keep this game wide. They'll look to keep it in the channels and then create that space inside. Sixmilebridge may want to keep it that little bit more compact to use the power of Malone and Golden. Interesting how both are going to set up. We know Davy Fitzgerald loves to maybe think about the game and do things differently, and obviously Adam Neville and Mike Deegan will know Davy's ways quite well from their time together at county level as well. So I mean, there's going to be so much to unfold in those first 5-10 minutes, isn't there?
I think there will, and I suppose it's the team and the management team that pulled something else out of the bag that either management team don't know already, and there probably will be a lot of work done on it without probably going over the top too much in the opposing team. But there'll have to be a certain amount of matchups and system, the way they play. Now, I touched on the Cratloe, the way they play. When they're at their very best, they play hurling like they play football. It's off the shoulder, it's link up, it's not 50-60 yards passing, it's off the shoulder, and then it's getting into those zones. And what I liked about them this year is that they're getting into those zones down the centre rather than going out wide. Okay, they've delivered a good few balls in from 30-40 yards into Rian Constant and Billy Connors, and even Colin McInerney times inside with Rian Constant. And they've delivered good quality ball. But what I'm really impressed with them is that when they do link up and play, it's coming down through the centre. Their final pass to the runner, which is more than likely going to be Conor McGrath coming through the centre, he's going down through the centre, and it's very difficult to defend that, so it'll be very interesting to see. I can see the Bridge really pushing up on everything. The Bridge won't allow them play their passing game and go into the comfort zone. They'll want them to go long, and I can see the Bridge trying to exploit, to me, the weakest probably line that I've seen today in Cratloe is probably their full back line. Now Michael Hawes is getting better since he came back from injury and that, but I can see the Bridge, and the Bridge have been playing this system this year where they've created a two-man inside full forward line, and they've got the ball in there. Mm-hmm. They've got the ball, and they've decided we don't have to go to the corners with it. We don't have to get into space. We've a ball winner. We can go in deep into the square in Malone or Golden. So they've done that. But I can see either one of the teams throwing another aspect to the game and trying to unfold each other, taking something out of the bag. I can see the Bridge really trying to make it a battle between the two 45s. Really physical encounter, stopping the runners, and then getting their runners on the ball. The key to me is that who's going to pick up Conor McGrath, who they're going to sacrifice. And we did see, I thought the win the game against Kilnamona for the Bridge was when Shena went on McCarthy, because he was causing serious trouble. Mm-hmm. And we do know of old that Shena Murray is a brilliant man marker. He's a brilliant man marker. His pace, his speed, he does the job. He doesn't lose sight and go looking to get on ball himself. If he's man marking, he's man marking. And he's winning the 50-50 balls in, and he's breaking up the other person. So that's going to be interesting to see, will the Bridge deploy Murray and Conor McGrath? Because the key to me this year has been Conor McGrath. When he's not playing well, and we saw it again, not for the sake of repeating and go back to the line Kilnamona situation game, Conor McGrath was not inviting it, and in return I felt that Cratloe were. They had none of that threat coming through the middle thirds of the field, and that their link-up play went to miss, and they were all out of shape. Now that's going to be one of the key battles for me.
And if you put Shane Murray on Conor McGrath, Fergie, would you encourage him as a coach to just man mark, or would you try and get him to attack as well, which he's well capable of doing, and get Conor McGrath into the part of the field where Cratloe don't want him?
See, I suppose the one thing about being a man marker is that you have to man mark. And you'll find in situations when Shane Murray will be marking Conor McGrath, that Conor McGrath will want to be getting on the ball. He'll want the ball. So that will invite Shane to be getting on the ball as well, if he's following him and he's chasing him and he's doing the man marking job. So that battle then, you'll find that Shane will probably overturn Conor McGrath a good few times, even though he's following him. It won't be a case, I'd say, Conor McGrath will be saying, I'll follow Shane Murray down the field. Shane will have to stay with him. Shane will have to pick him up, if it is Shane Murray. If it is. Now, that might have a different plan of somebody else, but to me, their best man marker is Shane Murray. And that will invite Shane Murray as well, getting on the ball as well, because he'll actually be coming into the zones where Conor will want to be getting it off the link and going through the centre, and he'll be able to overturn as well. So it's just not a man marking job, it will be being on the ball as well with him,
And would you, if McGrath, for argument's sake, you were talking there about maybe one of the teams coming up with something a bit different, Cratloe could start McGrath inside. I mean, is there any chance of that? Would you, if you had designated Shane O'Morey, for example, to man mark him, would you man mark him wherever he starts?
No. If the only way I'd be putting a man marker on Conor McGrath is in the role he plays, starting maybe wing forward, middle of the field, coming out to the middle of the field in and covering all those ones, then you have to man mark him. You know, Cratloe set up, their team works on that, so you can't allow that to happen. I could see the Sixmilebridge trying to really exploit their full back line. I could really see him trying to exploit their full back line. Now, how do you do that? You get them as far away from their own goal as you can. You get them out of their positions. You take 2, 3 and 4 and you try and bring them out the field and you try and create that atmosphere of space inside. If they don't follow, well then you punish them from far out. You know, it's a kind of a simple game plan, but it can be very effective when it's really worked on. The other thing about maybe the Sixmilebridge playing further out the field with their full forward line or their centre forward line out, now they have lads that can defend deep back. Now they have lads that can pick up runners, which Cratloe, like we've stated, I think are very, very good, and when they're playing that game, they're very, very good at. But now what you have in the Bridge is that you have pacey individuals that can come from deep and go running at their defence as well. So it's going to be an enthralling tactical battle. Now look at Dan probably be saying for the next few days along Cratloe and the Bridge, you know, with all the tactics, let's play instinctively as well. Let's play the way the game of hurling has been played. And I can see it being alright between the 245s being an enthralling physical battle. And if it is, the Bridge are halfway there. I think they're halfway there. If they can stop that Cratloe conveyor belt of movement, of bodies, of off the shoulder stuff. And they'll be very wary, I think, the Bridge or not wary, but they'll be conscious that coming down the finishing straight, if the game is in the balance, I'll be back in the Bridge to come home. They seem to have that in all the games I've seen playing. And you mentioned a very valid point, one, is that, you know, Cratloe their best periods have been their second 30 minutes, but the Bridge's best periods to me have been their last 15. They're really driving on, there's no choke out, the energy levels are high, their fitness levels are phenomenal. So to me, they're the key areas I think that they're going to try and exploit each other on.
They did that as well in the semi-final. They withdrew out the field and left 2 inside. It didn't work, but they tried it, so they might do that. They might withdraw again and try and expose that Cratloe full backline, so it's quite possible to see it. Any chance they might try Cathal Malone as a focal point in there?
Well, he has been rotating himself in goal and have been rotating inside. And what I really do like about it is that in the way Davy has the Bridge set up, he just hasn't got him playing a little bit deeper at the field and going through the channels and going through the lines. He's now given him a licence to go direct. Do you know, he's given him a licence to get that ball into that square where we have a ball winner, and you've young Brian Corrie and Alex Morey coming off that. Do you know, Alex doing great work out around the middle third of the field as well. High energy levels, getting onto great ball, and really, really back to his very, very best. And they'll know, the Bridge will know that, like Podge plays a massive role for Cratloe as well, because he's probably starting the inside for forward line, but he'll again find his way outside around the 240s, and he'll take a little bit of mind in that.
To me, I think it has to be Shane on Podge.
Do you think so?
I hear what you're saying about McGrath, but to me, I think Podge looks back hurling wise to the Podge of 2013.
Right.
He's busy, he's dangerous, he's everywhere. Like, who else have the Bridge? Like, this is what edges me towards thinking that this could be Cratloe's day, because I just think if you look at Cratloe's front 6 and pair them man for man with the Bridge's back 6, if that back 6 are pulled in every which way direction, which Podge and Ring Constantine and these lads have the pace to do, Cathal's a little bit more, I won't say inflexible, but certainly he likes to haunt that kind of that scoring zone where the lads I just don't think that they have the pace to go with them.
I do think a lot of Podge's running, Derrick, is not necessarily all the time to get on the ball, but it's to create the space inside and to drag defenders out of the areas where they can defend deep, and that's been effective for him. Now he has, when he's been on the ball too, he's been causing a little bit of trouble that he's been creating. If he's not getting scores, he's been getting frees. You know, he's good in the tackle, he invites the free to come on to him, but there is a lot of time these runs are just to draw defences out of shape and to leave the space inside for Conn McInerney and Ring Constantine. And we saw when they got the space against Crusheen, you know, the damage that Conn McInerney, the running at that goal, especially in the second half, and Ring, the composure of him inside. So the Bridge would be very wary of that. I think the Bridge, I've said it, hard to beat them when it comes to a county final.
I know, but if you compare the Cratloe 6 forwards to the Kilnamona 6 forwards, the greater quality probably lies with Cratloe. Now, Kilnamona's 6 forwards caused huge problems for Sixmilebridge, and maybe just at the other end of the field, the lack of composure hurt them in terms of turning it in that final quarter. So I just think that Cratloe might have more of a score than spread.
You often see it as well with Cratloe. It's simple enough, but Podge comes out, ball goes into the corner, Rian goes to the corner, and then tries to beat the man in the inside down the goal line, and it works time and again. You often see, like Cratloe, you'll probably see it more than any other club, the amount of balls they play across goal to an open man, just because they've turned someone out in the corner and there's someone waiting to receive it straight in front of goal. So I can see them trying to pull lads out to the corner, as you said, trying to get that full back line moving. Now, they are very experienced, that Sixmilebridge full back line, but experience can't be traded for speed, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's just one thing, that if you do go through, that full forward line of Cratloe and you compare it to the full back line of Kerry, Barry Fitzpatrick and Noel Purcell, where they'd be as honest a day as long, that Bridge full back line, especially in the two corners, Kerry and Purcell. They're good defenders, but what they do lack a little bit is a little bit of pace, a little bit of recovery in behind them. And I could see, who's going to pick up Rian Constantine? Will it be Purcell or Kerry? That's going to be a massive, because he's the man at the moment coming down as forwards for finishing. He's really, really opened up this year. His composure on the ball, I thought, on a few games was excellent. But who's going to pick him up? Because, in all the great things about Noel Purcell and Brian Carey, defensive wise, the one thing they do lack a little bit is a little bit of pace. So, that could be a little. But again, I think the Bridge will have a plan for that. I think they'll be playing their whole back line. They'll be deep back. Will they go with a sweeper straight out from the start? Maybe they will. I don't know.
And just on that, Fergie, and so slightly away from the final itself, if we had a county management team at this stage, if we had, they'd obviously be looking at Rian Constantine as regards being maybe hopefully a frontline player next year. Is there any other couple of players on either panel that aren't established at the moment? You would think.
Look, at you'd probably Jamie Shannon is the other one. Like, if he comes back to his best, gets fit and really comes back to his best, because I think he's a quality finisher as well. But overall, here's the point that we've been making about the county manager's job. He should be watching this progress of all county teams and seeing, is there 3 I can unearth from this championship. But there's 2 lads, and they're playing a county final on the Saturday from Bradford, that I think Stefan McMahon, he's and Taylor, Shane Taylor. I think they're if they got high quality inter-county, both S&C training and good coaching, hurling coaching, that could be anything. Now, again, it will all depend on, they have to buy into the whole thing, but they are 2 quality players. I saw a bit of them last year. Often impressed with them. And I can imagine with the training levels going to another level, they are 2. That Bridge team, you go back to the inter-county, you go back to that Bridge team, there's no outstanding superstars in it. But what they have and what they've developed this year is that their work ethic. They're working savage hard. And there's no panic. You'd often see a Bridge team, you often see if you're getting tough from it all. They're staying with the game, they're staying on the game, and they're getting themselves back into games that they're, you take, for example, Lynch Kilnamona one. They got themselves back into the game. But there's no, absolutely, I wouldn't see anybody else standing out, either in Cratloe, we know that Dermot Ryan, great to see him back, and I think his best position is in the half back line, facing the ball and coming. He's really brought Cratloe since he came back to another level again. But anybody else, I don't think so, Peter. I don't think Rian Constantine is probably the only forward on view from both teams that I would say is a shoe-in for an inter-county start.
Well, for me, I think Conor McGrath has to be playing either inter-county hurling or football next year.
You think so?
I think so. I think even on Sunday against Kilmurray Bricken, he was the one player that carried the fight for Cratloe in the first half, and obviously his connections with Cullum and all that. So he's good enough, isn't he? He's good enough to be. If he doesn't want to go play in hurling, I can tell you the football side of the house would gladly snap him up, and that count applies to a lot more of them. I can tell you too.
There's no doubt about Conor McGrath's experience and his wit, and I just think then you park that for a second, you go to a completely new level when it comes to inter-county hurling. The pace, the speed, And I just found in the latter part of his career, and he was an excellent forward. He was all inter-county teams when they played Clare, go back the last 10 years, would hate to see Conor McGrath going well and fire, because he could destroy a full back line on his own. But the last year or two, finish up his career, that pace went, that turn, that real composure again on the ball to get points from difficult angles. I seen that slipping a good bit at that level. Now look at he's sitting Cratloe on fire at club level and that. But I just think, Derrick, there's a gap that's big between inter-county and club that I don't know would Conor McGrath, the Conor McGrath of now, be at that pace, at that speed.
What I would think, Fergie, is maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but I'd have total trust in Conor McGrath.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't. If there's 20 better hurlers in Clare than Conor McGrath, I'd be delighted. Like,
yes.
Would you not play midfield? Is that not obvious?
No, just get him to play football. Simple. Get him on the football plan. Hear that? The lads that want him here on the hurling squad.
No,
get him on the football plan.
We want him playing for Clare, whether it's, well, I mean, hurling is his number one game. He's an outstanding player.
Don't get me wrong now. If I was inter-county hurling manager, if I was involved, I would love to have him involved. Absolutely. Even for a 10-minute, 15-minute off the bench stuff, I think. But I just think the way the hurling game has gone, there's one thing you definitely have to have now. You have to have speed and pace. If you don't have those in any sector of the field, people often talk about the speedy corner forward. Your corner backs, if they haven't got that speed and that off the turn ball back in behind you, you'll be in serious trouble. Now, Conor McGrath, 6 or 7 or 8 years ago, had that bust at 10 yards that he could make that space. He was burning teams. I'm not too sure has that gone from him with age, but we saw glimpses that it was at inter-county hurling level.
I think he's still only 28. I mean, he was 2009.
He's a lot of miles in the clock, you know. He's a savage club player.
He's a massive one player.
Out for a year nearly, with a hip injury.
That's right, yeah.
But like his form this year, he has to be in a club form this year. He has to be.
I suppose, lads, to be honest, the first thing we need is a manager.
We
can have that.
Is there any update?
Yeah.
Peter,
pick up the paper.
Yeah.
Pick up the paper for that. Time is catching up because we have to get down to the who and why. We'll start with yourself, Peter. We'll let Fergie have the final word, but we'll start with yourself. Who wins it and why for you?
I think Cratloe will win it because there's going to be an absolute massive desire within that dressing room, as there will be within the Bridge dressing room as well. But I think Cratloe probably need this more than Sixmilebridge, because obviously last year's final should have won that. I think they need it more than the Bridge, and I do think that their forwards, if they play to close to the level that they're capable of playing to, I think there'll be enough in them, with probably McGrath directing operations outside.
Owen?
Cratloe, because speed. They're faster, and if I completely agree with Fergie saying the Bridge will try and make an absolute dogfight in the middle of the field. If they succeed, they're in with a shout, because they can pop scores over from anywhere, as we saw against Kilmona, and I could see the Bridge winning a dogfight. But if Cratloe are cute enough trying to avoid that, if they can move the ball quickly, get it into their forwards, it's quite simple. Their forwards will just outscore Sixmilebridge's forwards.
Fergie, Cratloe at the start of the year.
Cratloe at the start of the year, again, for one reason, apart from the quality that they have in their team, but their appetite and their hunger to because, as I said, come half three every Sunday, they mustn't be able to eat their dinner thinking of last year's county final. They're throwing away a county final.
I didn't know what to get for the dinner, Fergie.
yeah.
Wouldn't it? Some dinners you probably would eat them.
Yeah. But I just think that, I think we need a second day. I think it'll be a draw. I think it will be an intense battle. I don't think it will be, if the Bridge come with a game that will try and shoot out with Cratloe will beat them. But I think the Bridge will come and play it as tight. They'll make it a real physical encounter. I think scores will be very, very hard to get. And again, I mentioned earlier on, the day will be an important issue here as well, because the drier the day, and we know that Cusack Park is in great nick as it is, the drier the day, Cratloe have forwards that can do damage. Good fast ball hopping. But I think it's going to take a second 60 minutes I think it'll be a draw. I think we'll be back here next Monday and we'll have a better insight of who won the tactical battles and who's going to make hay. Derrick, you're getting very worried when I say a draw.
I am. I'll tell you what.
Games can finish in a draw.
I'm very worried for you because your column that you've been writing all summer here for us in the Clare Champions is called what? Off the fence.
That's off the fence. That's off the fence.
Now you're calling a draw.
Really off the fence if it's a draw.
Well, I'm giving an honest opinion on that.
And check him there for splinters.
No.
I see his food cream in his pocket.
I just remind you, I went from Cratloe at the start of the year when he went for Kilmaley because he saw him win the cup final.
That wasn't the reason.
No, big reason. Big reason.
Wasn't.
But I just think that this will be an enthralling battle. I think there's nothing separating them, and I think he'll take a second 60 minutes to split them. No, that's not sitting on the fence there. That's calling it maturely, calling it, I think, the right way. And I
maturity from Fergie.
Yeah. So I think, honestly do. I think one of the key points, just for the sake of repeating myself again, will be the Conor McGrath situation. Will he set up and allow Cratloe to dictate what they're very good at doing, and will the Bridge stop that? If the Bridge do stop that, he's like the conductor of the orchestra. When he's conducting it, it's working. Everything is going. If the Bridge put a nail on that, what will Cratloe divert to then? What other game can they play? And they might find it difficult then, but I think it'll just be a massive battle. And I'd say, as I said, I think it'll be a draw.
So there we have two verdicts and a shrug of the shoulders.
and what about
I'm the presenter here. Michael Lester never predicted an All-Ireland final in all his 30 odd years, but Cratloe are going to win. That's the verdict here. Thanks for that. As Fergie said, we're probably going to be back here next Monday or next Thursday, as it will be, with another preview. But I think 3-on-1 we're saying Cratloe to take the cannon, and Fergie will be proven right in a little roundabout way. He's clever, don't take that away.
Well, as I said, I predicted Cratloe at the start of the year, so See, splinters. That's where we have today. Thanks for tuning in, and as ever, get in touch with your comments.